you guys should remember is when you're doing concept sketches and all, don't erase your guidelines. Let it be there. It adds character to your drawings. It adds quality, and also it is a great guide. And another way to do concept sketches or basic sketches are you can use sketchbooks like this, which have grids or dot lines, so it can help you maintain straight lines, and it can help you maintain proportions, etc., and add notes to the side. These are some, I was working out details of a seat, and for that, this drawing I did for a different project. And these are some extremely rudimentary sketches and some concept, about some concept, and these are some of the just practice sketches that I do to understand form and things like that. I think as architects, you might be wondering I'm showing why I'm showing you all these, because you have heard this is an architectural sketching also. But I think it is important that you start drawing other. You don't just stick to buildings. You draw human figures. You draw animals. You draw whatever you want to draw, because it will help you. It will help you in some way or the other once in a while. This is a sheet that I did practicing rendering, sketching techniques and rendering, etc. This is a very basic sketch. It was done in about 10 minutes, and sometimes some sketches don't work out, so these are something like that. And these are some final sketches that I did. And when you see sketches, you should note that sketches actually take time. So most people, when they do see pen and ink rendering, they think that it is very quick and very fast. But actually, if you want to do a really good sketch, it actually takes a lot of time, and you have to have the patience to do that. And this is a light study. These two are light studies that I did. This is of Ronsham Chapel it's done in stippling. And stippling takes a lot of time, so I wouldn't recommend that you guys do it a lot for projects or anything, unless you want, because this one itself took me about, I think, 7 days or something to get it done with. And this is again another light study. Yeah. And coming to these are drawings that I did for a presentation sheets. These are hand drawn uh, works. So if you note that and notice in this, there's actually it is actually quite simple to do it, because it is very basic techniques are only used in this drawing. There are just straight lines, there is stippling, and there are some trees and plants and things like that. And it is just about knowing that techniques and where to put it, that is where to use it, that is more important than the finished product actually. Yeah, this is the ground floor of the building, and yeah, there are courtyards and trees surrounding it. And this is the first floor. When I did the first floor, you will see that I haven't given that much importance to the ground, because it is elevated. We are doing it at 3 meters above the ground, so you don't need to do that much details to the ground. You just need to give more importance to the floor plan. So this is done in that different detail balance. Okay. All right. Now I think we'll go to the main. Yeah. Hi. So I think we will now um, start with the main session. All right. I'll just change the camera a bit. I hope everyone can see this.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes, sir.
yeah. Yeah, thank you, Bismi. Yeah. So, the first things that I want to show you guys is the very simple basics of sketching or the techniques that we use. And the first thing that I want you to take note of is your arm movements. All right. Now, arm movements, you can divide it into three categories. One is your fingers, then your wrist, then you have your arm, your entire arm. Okay. Now, if you're doing a draw, why we categorize it is you can see my arm, and you'll see that I'm making these strokes using just my fingers. You can see that there's a limitation to the length of the lines that I can draw, right? And if you start using your wrist for it, you will see that I have an entire new range of motion. I can draw longer lines, I can draw freer lines. And again, your entire arm, if you use your entire arm, you can see that I can actually pan the entire length of the sheet without lifting my pen off the paper. Now, why we use these different movement is, for example, you want to draw long lines like these. I am using my entire arm right now, and I draw a building inside it. You can see that I'm using my wrist to create the form of the building, and then to create the smaller details that I want to do, I might start using just my fingers to make these smaller details. So that's how you use your the entire motion of your arms to help you in creating a drawing. And also, when you're drawing to draw circles and etc., you need to use your entire arm. So you'll have a freer movement, you can create a nice outlines, etc. Now, another thing, second thing that we will discuss is wavering lines. Wavering lines, if you have seen architect sketches or sketches of buildings online, you might have seen that architects don't usually draw sharp straight lines like this, because it takes more time and you need to concentrate more. Rather, you'll see that there are more freer lines drawn like this. They have a little waver to them, and it has more character. These lines are more character. The reason why we do that, it takes the pressure of having to kind of make stiff sharp lines, and this frees us up. Now, to do such lines, there's a way you hold your pen. The first type is you hold your hand close to the nib. You keep your fingers close to the nib of the pen while drawing, for example, like this. So you can draw short, sharp, controlled lines.
Hello, sir. There is a small technical problem and we are very sorry, but if you could wait.
Hello.
Yes,
Uh,
sir.
yeah.
Yes, sir.
Sorry about that. We lost power here. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, as I was saying, we are dealing with these wavering lines and how to bring them. Uh, like I said, hold your fingers away from the nib of your pen to draw these lines, and that it will come automatically. And soon you will be able to control it. If you practice it enough, you will be able to control how much of that you want to create, how much of that quality you want to create. It will bring more character to your lines. All right. Now, when you are doing this, what I want you to note is you should not overdo it. It shouldn't start looking like a wave. So what happens is that line will lose its horizontal or vertical nature if you start doing that. So keep it simple, keep that light. All right. Now, next thing that I want to tell you is how you draw a line. Now, I have seen a lot of people drawing lines like this. So they just, when they want to draw long lines, they do it like this, kind of drawing over and over with small strokes. Now, what happens is we get these jagged edges and unfinished edges over here. How you should draw a line, however, is smooth, simple, and straight. This is how you should draw lines. So keep your wrist slightly above the paper and slide your arm across, and that will help you create smoother lines. All right. Or even when you're drawing circles, the same thing. Keep your arm away from the paper and draw it smooth. See, instead of drawing it with small strokes like this, you will get a more finished edge. Now, one more thing is how you draw your lines. About how you draw your lines, I have noticed people kind of pushing your pen or pencil across the surface like this. Now, what that does is it limits the control that you over what you are drawing. Now, you always pull your pen. By pulling, I mean your pen will be angled in the same direction as the line you're drawing, like this, like this. Now we'll see how we draw objects. Drawing. Now, many people have a problem with leaving in guidelines. So when you're drawing conceptual sketches or any architectural sketch for that matter, when you're drawing closed forms, you let your lines overlap. You create these junctions and let it overlap. So it takes away the pressure of you having to kind of meet sharp corners, takes away this pressure of having to do that. It frees you up. It makes your drawings more loose. It makes your drawings more spontaneous, and it gives more character to your lines. And if you want, you can then go over it with a higher line weight of pen and then just draw it over, and you will have a finished product. Now, so I'll just draw something over here that can be taken as a conceptual sketch. When I start drawings, the first thing that I like to do is I draw a kind of vertical line. It gives me a guide to keep my drawings straight. So what we are drawing right now is a very rudimentary sketch of Villa Savoy. Now, I know that the Villa Savoy has an square plan, okay, and that is divided into 5 bays like this. So you draw in these guidelines. I know that the height is slightly less than the length of a bay. It will come something like this. And we have a structure here. We have perspective lines going here. These are the pilotes or the columns that, okay. And now Villa Savoy has a structure on its roof that comes something like this. We are drawn in the basic of the building using a low thickness pen. Now we can fill in the details, we can go over it using a thicker pen, and you will start noticing that these lines, these guidelines that we drew in the beginning sort of completely become inconspicuous, and you start concentrating more on the form of the building. Now we have the cutout in the roof. Now you can just finish up your drawing, put in borders or background. Now, what I want you guys to note in this particular drawing that we did is that we haven't used any kind of hatch marks in this. There are just the simple lines that we discussed so far. There are just lines, and we just kind of use line weights to highlight the form of the building. And there's no other details that we did. So you can use sketches like this to kind of represent your concepts or basic ideation sketches, etc. And after this, I think we'll move on to the hatch marks session. In hatch marks, what you see is these are the most common hatch marks that all of you must be knowing. You have your vertical lines, you have your horizontal lines, you have your two diagonal lines. And hatch marks are what hatch marks are is that they are shorter lines. They are the same thing. These hatch lines, they are just shorter. Now, while making hatch marks or making any drawing in general, I want you to see the difference between doing it quickly and having the patience to make slow and deliberate lines. For example, these hatch marks, if I do it quickly, they end up looking like this. You start getting these junctions over here. It does not seem seamless. So you see the difference when I do it with slow deliberate lines. You have a neater finish in the end. Okay. Now, another technique, another stroke you could say is stippling. Stippling simply means putting dots on the paper using your pen. One thing that I want you guys to know about stippling is that it takes a lot of time to produce even a small piece of work. So you have to be very patient while doing it. And even when you put your strokes on paper, you have to be patient. See the difference if you do it really fast. If you see that some of them stop looking like a dot and rather start acting like small strokes like this. Okay, that's the difference between slow and fast. Now, one of the main techniques in pen and ink rendering is cross hatching. Cross hatching simply means hatching over what you have done using layers of different angles of hatch. Right now I'm doing a vertical hatch. And cross hatching we'll do with horizontal lines as the first layer. Your third layer, you can have an angled hatch, your diagonals. And your fourth layer, you go the other way. You can see how that dark to light is produced using just lines. Okay, maybe we can see that. All right. Now, the last hatch lines or strokes that we can use are contour lines. Now, contour lines are shape defining lines. Okay, they hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. We just lost current here. All right. So contour lines are basically the contour lines are basically the lines that help to define the form of a object. For example, right now I'll be drawing a kind of oblique hexagon. I'll be drawing an oblique hexagon. Okay. Now, this is acting as a silhouette of your object. Now, if you with just these lines, you won't be able to understand what the form of the object is. So if I add in these lines, you can see how easy it is to understand that this is a rounded cuboid. Okay. Uh, are you able to see it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now, I'll show you another example of how we can use contour lines to define the shape of an object. Yeah, so you can see how that defines the form of that object that we have drawn, that it has a very curved surface and it has a kind of coated like thing in the middle, and that too with very simple lines that we produce that effect. Now I think another thing that we need to discuss with using lines or strokes are light and shade. All right, so I'll be using a 0.1 pen for this. Draw a circle. Okay, now we'll set a light source for this object. Coming from here, so we know that when light strikes a spherical object, it will form a highlight over here, a midtone in this region, and a shadow here. Now, how we hatch these objects are, there are two ways that we can do it. We can simply use straight hatch lines. We can use cross hatching to increase the depth on the other side where the shadow is supposed to come. And another layer. Then you will have the shadow on the ground. But when using these kind of hatches with spherical or rounded objects, is that it appears very flat. You don't get that curved feeling of the surface. Another way that would be better at doing hatches for such objects are, I'll just show you. I'll be drawing a circle again. You will have your light source again over here. And the same way, we know that there is going to be a highlight here. There is going to be a mid-tone in this region, and you have the shadow here. Now, how you hatch it is using your contour lines. Like I said before, contour lines help to define the form of an object. So when you're shading using just contour lines, it reinforces that fact that this object is in fact a curved object and not a flat 2D shape. Once you have drawn your contour lines and defined approximately what the light and shade is, you can then go over it using your smaller hatch lines and reinforce that dark to light feeling that we want to create. you'll see that hatching using contour lines helps to get a better idea of what the form of the object is going to be like. And then when you're doing your shadow, you just use straight lines. To cross hatch it. We know that your shadow is going to be darker near your object. So increase the distance between the lines as you move across. Then use an angled hatch towards closer to the object. Okay. So that's how you can create light and shade effect using just hatch lines. All right. Now I think since we have discussed light, shade, and hatch marks, I think we can move on to a drawing of a building. So I'll just show you an building that I am going to draw. It is the Bentota Resort. I'll just take the image. Yeah. So this is the image that we are going to draw. Now you can see that there is an object. You have the most prominent object in this is the building itself, and then you have this wall. Now when you are drawing a building, the first thing that you need to do is not directly start on the paper. Don't simply start drawing lines on the paper. What you must do, however, is analyze the scene that you are drawing. So the first thing that you need to understand is that this is a perspective, and that there are perspective lines, there are vanishing points, and there is a horizon line. Now what the horizon line basically means is your eye height. That is the height at which the viewer's eye is. Now why we need to identify the horizon line is because we all know that if we have a horizon line in any perspective, you will have vanishing points on the horizon line. Okay, this is the vanishing point, and you have an object that is placed above the horizon line. You know that any line, any edge will converge to the vanishing points if it is above the horizon line. So it will be slanting down. And if the object is below the horizon line, you will notice that the edges will be angled upward towards the horizon line, like this. Now, why we need to do an analysis of the scene is because if we can identify your horizon line for this particular example, the horizon line will be somewhere around here. So how do we get that line? Now what we must note is that these objects, it is slanting down, and we can see the underside of the object. So that is a clue. So we can see here there are these slits in the wall. We can see that you can see the underside of the lintel in these particular slits. And if we notice here, we can slightly see the uh, lintel bottom of this doorway as well. Now from that we can understand that your horizon line will probably be below this line but above the ground. And how we can get that? If you see this particular slit over here, we can see that the bottom of the sill is actually visible over here, and you can see this line itself. There is this small edge towards the right side. You can see that this is angled upward, so we can get an idea that your horizon line will be above this line but below this line, somewhere around here. Okay, now that's what I have drawn over here. You can see that I have made a small pencil sketch. Now, for every drawing that you do, you might hear from many people that don't draw with pencil, don't draw directly with pen. And if that doesn't work out for you, it's fine. You can always start a basic pencil drawing and then draw over it using your pen. Now, hello guys, is it clear? Can you see this? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, all right. Okay.
Yes, it's all right, sir. Seems
Okay.
fine.
Thank you. Yeah, so we are saying, yeah, we can draw a pencil sketch first before moving on to your pen and ink. How that helps is that it helps you kind of plan what you want to draw, what kind of details you want to include, or you can even omit your any details that you want. And for this particular pencil drawing that I did, what I did was I did not draw the entire building in detail using pencil. What I made was I just made some suggestive lines using pencil. I drew the basic form of the building. Like over here, you can see the basic form of the building, and you can see these guidelines that I extend towards the vanishing points on both sides. The vanishing point on the right will be kind of outside the sheet. You can see the lines. You can see these lines. So these are guidelines that helps us create the drawing properly. And then another thing that you have to notice is the first thing that I do is I kind of draw the horizon line across the sheet so that I know where to angle the lines towards. Then we start with smaller details such as these lines. The most prominent line in this particular example is the line of that wall that we were seeing over here. You can see this wall. There was this wall over here, and we'll be drawing that first. Now, try to create smooth, straight lines rather than breaking up the lines and drawing across it again. Keep your lines continuous, keep it simple. Now, another thing that I want you to keep in mind while making drawings is your hatches should come at the end of the drawing. That is, you draw in the form of your building first. You make sure that you get the form and you get the proportion of the building right before you move on to the hatching or the shading. Okay, now Now you might be wondering how to get the proportions right while making a drawing. So how you do it is take one particular object in the scene and try to compare the rest of the objects and all the other buildings or the people or the plants, etc., with that particular object. For example, in this particular scene, we are drawing from a reference image, so we have a defined edge. All right, so how we do it is, now how I did it was, I know that this particular edge has a height. you can measure it like this using a pen. You keep it across, you take a length and you keep it. You take reference of that and check the heights. Now I checked it with the other image that I was doing, I was referring to, and I know that this height of this wall over here is almost the same as the height that we get over here. Okay, and if we get those two right, we can simply create the rest of the form directly. It becomes very simple. You mask the two main objects and then you just need to fill in the details. Now the form is almost done of the resort, and now here there was these plants. If you're doing a live sketch, the advantage of doing a live sketch is that you can simply walk around this tree and you can find out what's going on behind the tree and then fill in the details. But since we are referring to an image, don't try to imagine the details. Just uh, draw what is there. And if you want to kind of omit the tree, take another reference of another view that you have and draw using that. So I'm drawing this tree, and it also helps to hide many unwanted details that takes a lot of time to draw. You have these bushes over here. When you're drawing trees in architectural sketches, it is better to keep it simple. You have another building over here. Now, this building, for this particular example, it is standing parallel to the main block over here. Now that makes the whole drawing a lot more simpler because it will have the same set of vanishing points. Now if it was at a different angle, what happens is that the vanishing point will shift. For example, you have an object shape like this. I'm drawing the plan of something. And you have an object angled like this. Now, if you're looking at these two particular buildings, and you are standing from here and making a drawing, when you draw the first object, you will have a vanishing point somewhere here on the horizon line. Your vanishing point will be these for this particular object. However, if you look at this particular one, it is standing at a different angle towards you. You will be seeing it differently. So now what happens is your building will be angled differently. You will have a different set of lines that define the So the view will appear something like this. Now you see that you have one set of vanishing point over here for the first one, and then for your second object the vanishing points shift. You will have it somewhere around here. This will be another set of vanishing point. But an advantage for this particular example that we are doing is that both the buildings are parallel to each other. So how that simplifies the whole thing is, you have the vanishing point, you have identified that the vanishing point is somewhere around here, and you can simply draw a guideline across like this and you'll get it properly. Okay. Now, for any pen and ink drawing that you start, the most important part is getting these basic forms right. The hatches all are secondary. If you don't get the form right, no amount of hatch is going to help you make the drawing better. Now, as I said earlier, these particular slits on the wall, that you can see the underside or the bottom of the lintels. Now, adding small details like this will help make the drawing better, and it will improve the overall character of the drawing that you are doing. Now this wall, if you look at this image, has a kind of texture to it. It's a kind of a stone wall. So when you're doing the hatches for this, try to make certain small representation. You don't need to draw in all the stone that's on the wall. You just need to kind of represent it using small details like this. So the viewer will know that there is not a smooth surface, but there is some other details or something is happening there, that there's a texture to it. There's a tree over here. You can, since it's a very dark wall compared to the rest of the image, you can kind of have these hatches, and you don't need to worry about making it too vertical, because the wall is slightly slanting and it also has a texture to it. And you don't need to even make all the lines continuous all the way down. That kind of reinforces that it's too smooth. So if you add broken lines, it kind of starts acting like a texture. Now we have this shade here. So it is behind the tree and this particular portion is shaded very dark. So there needs to be some sort of gradual change, and it shouldn't appear that outside on this side there is no shade. So try to look at small details like that, and that's going to help your drawing become better. You will notice that I'm doing the entire drawing with just one pen. I'm not changing the pen that I'm using. And especially when you're doing urban sketches and all, it's very hard to keep shifting between your pen. So you can create a good drawing using just one pen. You don't need so many different tools or pens, etc. You can even make a very good sketch using simply a ballpoint pen. And I think this is taking a bit long, so I'll show you what the final image ought to look like. So if you spend your time and do this, this is how the final result is going to end up. So I'll just bring it a little close so that you can see. You can see that I have hatched these surfaces because they are below and they do not get sunlight, so they are darker, and there is this small shade over here. And what you see here is there is nothing new that I have done. I have used just small hatch marks and cross hatches to get this effect. Okay, and similarly for all this. And this guy I drew over here is just to reinforce that there is a horizon line coming here. So that is how it, how the entire drawing comes to be if you spend your time to do it. And since we don't have time, I think we'll stop it over here. What do you say, Bismi? Hello?
Yes, sir. It's perfectly fine, sir.
Yeah, I think we are taking too long.
It's maybe everyone are okay with it. It's worth time, right?
Okay. If you want me to continue, I think I can do it, or we can stop it here. Whatever you say.
Uh, Maybe we can wind up. Maybe everyone are clear with what you've said. Maybe.
Yeah. All right. I think then we'll wind it up.
Yes, sir.
And before we just end it, I want to show a few books. And now, I think every architecture student will be knowing this book. This is Rendering with Pen and Ink by Robert W. Gill. So I just wanted to show a few pages of this that can help you. And these are some trees that you can use in plan. So referring to books like this will help you create figures and make your drawings come more alive. You can use very simple human figures such as these, etc. But that also doesn't mean you have to follow this book. You can see that the figure that I drew in my sketch has nothing to do with what is on this book. It is something that I drew it completely on my own. And another book that will help you guys with pen and ink is this one, Landscape Graphics by Grant W. Reed. And a few pages of that I will show you. Again, these are plans of some particular trees, and you can use it to add variation to your floor plans, etc. And very simple, quick trees sketches that over here they have shown you lots of examples. So if you get PDFs, or if you can buy a book, buy this particular book and keep it with you, I think it will be a great reference for you guys to improve your sketching. And you can even come and refer it whenever you want to get ideas or something. Yeah, I think that is it. So Vismi, hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay.
Good evening to all. With that, we have come to an end for today's session on architectural rendering. And sir, this has been a wonderful session.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you guys for having me.
First of all, I would like to apologize to everyone for the technical errors and the bad network connection, and hope that you have all enjoyed this workshop. We are very sorry for the inconvenience caused.
Yeah, I'm also very sorry about that. We have very poor connection over here.
Next, I would like to thank our special guest, architect Abhijit Shashikumar. Sir, your pointers on architectural rendering has been a great help for all the student architects here. The techniques you have taught us will truly help us in our sketches and renders, and they are easy to grasp. So thank you so much, sir, for taking some time for us and being here today.
Yeah, thank you all. And I hope you guys have got some pointers, and I think it will help you guys out. All right.
Next, I would like to thank our teachers for always being there for us and for supporting us. The students team has put in a lot of hard work and effort for this workshop, and I would like to thank them for their contribution. Last but not the least, I would like to thank each and every one of you for being here today as a part of this session. If you have any further queries, please DM sir on his Insta ID. Once again, I would like to thank you all for being here today. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.